Have you ever felt a sting deep inside when someone else succeeds? That quiet ache when a colleague is promoted, when a friend's life seems brighter, or when strangers online appear to live without struggle. This invisible fire is envy. It hides in the shadows, whispering that you are not enough. Yet envy is not just an emotion. It is a thief of peace, a storm within the soul. Today, we step into a journey where philosophy becomes a shield, where the wisdom of the Stoics turns envy into clarity. Are you ready to face the storm inside? Picture yourself late at night, scrolling through endless feeds. Every smile, every success, every polished image feels like a mirror reflecting your own doubts. Or imagine sitting in the office while your coworkers' praise echoes like thunder, leaving your own silence louder. Envy does not announce itself. It seeps in quietly, painting life in storm gray. But you are not alone. From emperors to ordinary workers, envy has haunted humanity since the beginning. The question is, will you let it chain you, or will you learn to break free? 2,000 years ago, Stoic philosophers like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius faced envy in a world of empires and ambition. They understood its poison and discovered the antidote. To them, envy was a shadow born from ignorance, from forgetting that peace lies not in others' victories, but in mastering ourselves. Their writings are not dusty scrolls. They are living maps, guiding us through modern storms of comparison and self-doubt. Imagine holding that wisdom in your hands today, using it not as theory, but as daily armor. This is the power of Stoicism. In this video, we will uncover 12 truths about envy, how it disguises itself, how it erodes relationships, and how it blinds us to blessings already in our grasp. More importantly, we will reveal how Stoicism transforms envy into strength, gratitude, and inner freedom. By the end, you will not just understand envy, you will command it. You will walk with the calm of a philosopher and the power of a warrior. This is not just a lesson. It is an invitation to live without chains, to step into the golden light of freedom. Principle 1. Envy steals your peace. Envy is not just an uncomfortable feeling. It is a thief that robs your peace of mind. While you are focused on someone else's blessings, your own treasures are left unattended. Peace fades, joy dissolves, and life feels hollow. The Stoics warned us. The mind cannot hold gratitude and envy at the same time. Choose envy, and you trade serenity for poison. Choose gratitude, and envy loses its power. The battle begins with awareness, seeing envy as the intruder it is, and refusing to let it settle in your home. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Envy contaminates those thoughts with bitterness. Seneca added, "He who envies others does not obtain peace of mind." The Stoics spoke across centuries to remind us, envy is not about others. It is about the weakness within us. Their words are not condemnation, but liberation. If envy arises from within, then so too does the cure. Master the inner world, and you are free from the chains of comparison. Imagine two men walking through a garden. One sees only the flowers blooming, the fragrance in the air, the sunlight dancing on leaves. The other sees only the weeds, jealous that someone else's roses bloom brighter than his own. Though they walk the same path, they live two different lives. Envy transforms abundance into scarcity, turning blessings into burdens. Marcus Aurelius walked among wealth and power, yet wrote nightly about gratitude for the simplest things: breath, sunrise, companionship. His secret was not in avoiding envy, but in transforming vision. Today, envy hides in glowing screens, in social media feeds, in office promotions, and whispered conversations. We compare vacations, salaries, relationships, even bodies. But here is the truth. No one posts their struggles, their sleepless nights, their silent doubts. Envy feeds on illusions. The Stoic practice is simple. When envy strikes, pause and name one thing you are grateful for. Gratitude is the antidote. It shifts focus from scarcity to abundance. Try it now. Name one blessing, however small. That is how peace begins to return. Principle 2. envy turns into anger. Envy rarely stays quiet. Left unchecked, it mutates into anger. Anger against the colleague who was promoted, against the friend who seems happier, against the stranger whose life appears effortless. But the Stoics taught, anger is often envy wearing a mask. What seems like righteous fury is often hidden insecurity exposed by another's success. If we do not unmask envy early, it erupts as resentment and rage. To conquer anger, we must first confront its silent seed, envy. Seneca wrote, "Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more destructive than the injury that provokes it." And Epictetus warned, "It is not he who reviles you who injures you, but your opinion that these things are insulting." Both point to the same truth. Our reaction is our choice. Envy may spark the flame, but anger keeps it burning. The Stoics remind us, no insult, no success, no fortune of others has the power to enslave you unless you hand them the key. History tells of Alexander the Great. At the height of his power, he wept, not for joy, but because he envied that there were no more worlds to conquer. His envy turned into restless anger, driving him further, until even victory tasted bitter. This story warns us. Anger born of envy never ends in peace. It devours achievements, leaving only dissatisfaction. The Stoics instead taught contentment. To conquer yourself is a victory greater than conquering nations. For when envy turns to anger, the battlefield is not outside, but within. In our time, anger often hides envy. You see someone online and feel your blood boil. Yet deep down, it is not hate, but the fear of being left behind. At work, resentment builds against the promoted colleague, not because of their achievement, but because of our own unspoken doubts. The Stoic practice, when anger rises, ask, what fear or envy fuels it? By naming it, we weaken it. Replace anger with curiosity. Instead of resenting success, learn from it. The fire then becomes not destructive rage, but fuel for growth. Principle 3. Envy breeds hatred. Envy begins as discomfort, but if left to fester, it transforms into hatred. First, it is irritation at someone's success. Then it becomes resentment. Finally, it grows into hostility without reason. Hatred is envy's final stage, when the soul becomes so consumed with comparison that it no longer sees truth, only rivalry. The Stoics warned, hatred harms not the envied, but the one who envies. It corrodes the heart, blinds the mind, and poisons the spirit. Recognize envy early, or it will evolve into a beast far harder to tame. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. And Seneca wrote, envy of others devours itself. The Stoics revealed hatred for what it is, a self-inflicted wound. Hatred may appear powerful, but in reality, it reveals weakness. Each time envy grows into hatred, it says more about our own emptiness than about another's success. By choosing virtue, by refusing to mirror bitterness, we not only free ourselves, but also protect our soul from corrosion. Think of Cain and Abel, one of humanity's oldest stories. Cain's envy of his brother's favor turned into hatred, and hatred led to violence. The lesson is timeless. Hatred born of envy destroys not only relationships, but also the soul of the one consumed by it. History is filled with rulers, leaders, and even ordinary people whose envy grew into hostility, tearing apart families and nations. The Stoics understood this. Hatred is not power, it is weakness in disguise. To conquer envy before it hardens into hate is to preserve your humanity. In today's world, hatred often begins as envy disguised in daily life. The silent bitterness when scrolling social media, the quiet resentment toward friends, the cold distance in families, all seeds of hatred. But the Stoic answer is simple: replace envy with admiration. Instead of resenting another's success, ask, what can I learn from them? Hatred dissolves when we shift from comparison to growth. Practice gratitude, honor the good in others, and hatred loses its grip. The choice is yours, to feed the fire of envy or to water the seeds of wisdom. Principle 4. Envy blinds you to blessings. Envy blinds us. It narrows our vision until we see only what we lack, not what we already hold. When envy takes root, health feels ordinary, love feels invisible, and small daily joys are ignored. We forget the blessings that others might long for: safety, breath, sunrise, companionship. The Stoics warned that envy distorts perception. It makes wealth seem poor and abundance seem empty. To see clearly, we must open our eyes to what is present. Gratitude restores sight where envy brings blindness. Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." And Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Think of what you have rather than of what you lack." These words are antidotes to envy's blindness. The Stoics remind us, sight is not just of the eyes, but of the mind. When we shift focus from scarcity to gratitude, the world becomes richer instantly. The cure is not to chase endlessly, but to see what already lies within reach. Imagine two travelers. One spends his journey cursing the storms, never noticing the fields of gold along the road. The other accepts the storms, but also sees the beauty in the flowers, the laughter of children, the shelter found at night. Both walk the same road, yet one lives blind, the other blessed. Envy makes us like the first traveler, seeing only what we lack. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, practiced dawn meditations of gratitude. By listing blessings daily, they kept their vision clear, even when surrounded by storms of ambition and greed. Today, envy thrives in a culture of comparison. Social media blinds us to our blessings. We see another's vacation, but forget our own warm bed. We see another's wealth, but forget our own health. The practice is simple but powerful. Pause each day and name 3 things you are grateful for. This is not weakness, it is clarity. Gratitude cuts through envy's illusions and restores balance. When you count blessings instead of comparisons, envy fades and vision returns. The Stoics called this true wealth. Principle 5. Envy reveals insecurity. Envy is a mirror. It reflects not the greatness of others, but the insecurities within us. When someone's success makes us feel threatened, it is not their power we fear, but our own doubts speaking back to us. The Stoics understood this. A person with strong self-worth cannot be shaken by another's fortune. Envy, therefore, is not proof of another's superiority. It is proof of our own unfinished work. To conquer envy, we must strengthen the roots of confidence within ourselves. Seneca wrote, "He who is not contented with what he has would not be contented with what he would like to have." And Epictetus taught, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." These truths pierce envy's disguise. Insecurity fuels endless craving. Yet no possession or praise can fill a restless soul. Only inner strength can. The Stoics remind us, by building virtue, wisdom, and gratitude, we anchor ourselves in security no envy can shake. Picture 2 trees in a storm. One has shallow roots. It sways violently, nearly uprooted at every gust. The other, with deep roots, stands steady though the winds howl. Envy is the storm. Insecurity is shallow roots. Without depth, every success of others shakes us. The Stoics built deep roots through daily practice, journaling, reflection, gratitude. Marcus Aurelius, despite being emperor, doubted himself often, but he built roots by reminding himself of virtue over vanity. And so he stood steady, even when storms of envy swirled around him. In modern life, insecurity fuels envy in countless ways. We envy careers, bodies, relationships, even lifestyles carefully staged online. But envy is not proof that others are ahead. It is a signal that we must work within. The Stoic exercise is this. When envy strikes, ask, "What insecurity does this reveal in me?" Then act not by chasing comparison, but by strengthening your own foundation through discipline, gratitude, and self-respect. Insecurity dissolves when you stop measuring by others and start living by virtue. Principle 6. Envy breeds toxic comparison. Envy thrives on comparison. It turns life into a scoreboard where every success of another feels like our own defeat. But comparison is a trap. There will always be someone richer, stronger, more admired. The Stoics warn that measuring yourself against others is slavery, because your peace then depends on forces you cannot control. True freedom comes when you measure yourself only by virtue, by effort, by character. Envy chains us to toxic comparison, but wisdom breaks those chains. Epictetus declared, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." And Marcus Aurelius reminded, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others." The Stoics cut through comparison with clarity. Life is not about being ranked. It is about being real. Envy turns life into a competition where no one wins. But the Stoic path turns life into a practice of virtue, where growth, not rivalry, is the measure. Think of an athlete who constantly looks sideways during the race. Instead of running his best, he stumbles because his eyes are chained to others. Envy makes us that athlete, always glancing sideways, never forward. The Stoics taught, run your own race. Seneca compared life to a journey on the sea. Some ships sail faster, some slower. But the task is not to race, it is to reach harbor. Comparison is illusion, direction is reality. When we chase rivalry, we lose ourselves. When we chase virtue, we find peace. In the modern world, social media fuels toxic comparison. We compare careers, vacations, likes, and even moments of happiness. Envy turns life into a scoreboard where no number satisfies. The Stoic practice is this. When you catch yourself comparing, pause and ask, am I measuring myself by my own values or by illusions? Redirect attention inward to discipline, kindness, wisdom. Life is not a race against others. It is a training ground for yourself. Break free from toxic comparison, and envy will lose its grip. Principle 7. Envy destroys relationships. Envy is not only an inner poison, it spreads outward, corroding relationships. Friendships grow cold, families fracture, and love fades when envy enters the room. What begins as silent resentment turns into mistrust, suspicion, and competition. The Stoics warned, envy builds walls where there should be bridges. When you cannot celebrate another's joy, the bond weakens. Envy does not destroy others. It destroys the connection between you and them. To protect relationships, you must first cleanse the envy within. Marcus Aurelius wrote, when you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. Love and envy cannot coexist. Seneca observed, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. The Stoics remind us, envy makes us poor in relationships, unable to rejoice, unable to give. But when gratitude rules the heart, envy loses its grip, and relationships grow strong again. History tells of Julius Caesar and Brutus. Their bond, once strong, was poisoned by envy and ambition. What began as trust ended in betrayal that shook an empire. This is the cost of envy in relationships. It transforms allies into enemies, friends into rivals. The Stoics looked at such stories not with despair, but with warning. Envy is subtle, but its fruit is bitter. When envy enters friendship, suspicion grows. When envy enters love, joy dies. To preserve connection, envy must be uprooted before it blooms into betrayal. In modern life, envy erodes relationships quietly. Friends grow distant because success cannot be celebrated. Couples argue over comparisons. Families fracture under hidden rivalries. The Stoic practice is simple yet powerful. When someone you love succeeds, train yourself to rejoice with them. Their success is not your loss. It is proof that goodness exists. By replacing envy with admiration, relationships transform. Love thrives where envy cannot. Practice celebration, and you will not only protect bonds, you will strengthen them beyond envy's reach. We have walked through the shadows of envy, its theft of peace, its disguise as anger, its corruption into hatred, its blinding of blessings, its revelation of insecurity, its toxic comparisons, and its destruction of relationships. Yet through each, the Stoics offered light. They showed us that envy is not fate, it is a choice. With awareness, gratitude, and virtue, envy loses its chains. The lesson is clear. Envy is a teacher, but only if we choose to learn, not to be enslaved. You are not powerless against envy. The Stoics remind us, no thought can enter your mind without your permission. No envy can root itself unless you water it. You are the gatekeeper of your peace. Each time envy whispers, you hold the choice to listen or to silence it. And every time you choose gratitude, you win a quiet victory. That victory builds strength, day by day, until envy becomes fuel for growth rather than chains of resentment. You are stronger than envy. Here is your challenge. For the next 7 days, whenever you feel envy, pause. Write down the blessing envy tries to hide. If you envy a friend's success, list your own progress. If you envy wealth, list the health, family, or skills you already hold. Transform envy into gratitude in writing. At the end of the week, read your notes. You will see that envy is not your master. It is your messenger, pointing you to what you truly value. Use it as a guide, not a chain. This is the promise of Stoicism: freedom from envy, freedom from chains of comparison, freedom to live with peace and power. The storm of envy may always whisper, but within you burns a golden flame stronger than any shadow. Guard it, feed it, let it guide your life. And as always, remember the creed of this channel: Stoic Miracles, where ancient wisdom becomes your strength today. Walk in calm, walk in clarity, walk in gold.